Hello, ignore crazy dog. I thought I would do a reading vlog. I have a few days off, so I thought I would start to vlog what I'm reading. Currently watching a reading vlog. Haley, what is her name? Haley in Bookland? Yeah, I knew that. So I thought I would share what I am currently reading. Even though I am losing my voice, I don't know why. I feel completely fine. And like I don't feel sick, which maybe that'll change, but I'm like losing my voice. So don't know if it's the weather or what, but I'm currently reading Mary in Haste by what's her name? Anne Gracie. This was a recommendation I've seen on a couple different historical romance like recommendations on Instagram and stuff, but specifically she just changed her username and I don't know what she changed it to, but I think it's Avery Reads Romance, I think is her username now. But I saw it on one of her posts and I've seen it on a couple of others. And I just really wanted a historical romance series. I just read a Joanna Shute book and I just read a Joanna Lowell book, I believe, both from the library. I don't know what's wrong with my voice. I feel completely fine and I'm just like losing my voice. Anyway, I just, with the new season of Bridgerton coming out and having just read those two books, I really am just in a historical romance mood. So I have so many physical historical romance books, but I really wanted to read on my Kindle, so I rented this one from the library, which goes against my 2026 reading goals of reading the books on my shelves. I did try and find like a copy of something I own on ebook, but like I just kept like missing, like there was nothing available on Libby of something that I owned. I wanted to start Elisa Kleypas series, the one that has Chasing Cassandra in it, which I know is not like the first book in the series, but it's in that series. That's the series I really wanted to read, but they were all like super long waits on Libby, so I was like, well, whatever. This historical romance, I have read chapter 1. I don't think I've even finished chapter 1. It's interesting so far. It sounds like they're all marriage of convenience stories. What I think is going to be interesting, it's a much earlier set historical romance than I typically read, so I'm interested to see how that kind of changes the story and what's available specifically to the female character. I tend to read a lot more like 1890s, like Victorian into Gilded Age, like set romances, whether they're Europe or I kind of prefer New York. But this one, the prologue is set in 1811 and then chapter 1 starts in 1818. So like that's a very big difference for the availability of like women's rights and everything. The dog's being crazy. But anyway, I'm gonna go to the gym and then I will read this today and get some reading done. This was a notification from Words with Friends. Gotta go play my Words with Friends. And then I'm also listening to The Blood of Olympus, and I'm also listening to some Walt Whitman poetry. So maybe I'll get some decent reading done. I just finished a contemporary romance called, I don't know what it was called, Sap and Secrets, I think. It was pretty good. Anyway, but I am gonna go to the gym and I will check in later. Hello, a reading update. It is actually Monday. I didn't update the last couple of days because I, in fact, am sick. It's so weird. I haven't ever like just lost my voice first and then gotten sick, but it's been pretty mild. Nothing too crazy, but I have gotten a bit of reading done. I just finished the Blood of Olympus audiobook and oh my god, I had forgotten everything that happened in this book, to be completely honest. But it is so good in the end. I wouldn't even call it a critique so much as a wish. I wish Percy had been in the end a little bit more, but I also understand because this is the Heroes of Olympus series, this is not Percy Jackson and the Olympians, that it had to be kind of everybody, and I did really like that. And what I really liked actually is so much of the final battle is actually Nico's point of view, who is not even part of the Seven, but he has the most like unique perspective on having been there for most of the original trilogy, or not trilogy, the original series and this series, and like he has a unique perspective of having known about the Greeks and the Romans earlier than the other characters. So yeah, I really loved it. And he finally like really meets Will, which I'm so excited to get into that series because I have not read that series yet. I don't even know if it's a series or if it's just 2 books so far. Love that. And then I really love his scene with Percy where he confesses to Percy, like, hey, this is how I felt. I don't feel like that way anymore, but I want to tell you. I want to clear the air. And he goes, and you know what? And, you know, you're not my type. And Percy, I just imagine Percy as Styles from Teen Wolf when Styles from Teen Wolf is yelling at Danny and saying, am I attractive to gay guys? Like, that's what I imagine Percy's reaction being. And I love that. I love it dearly. I really also liked how for this last one, it's not one big battle at the end, it's 2 big battles. And I wouldn't even call them like 2, like a big battle split into 2. It's like genuinely 2 like huge battles. I loved the first one that happened in, were they in Greece? Were they in Rome? I don't know. I lost track a while ago of what country they were in at any given moment, because they go through so many, and my geography skills are not good. But this scene where they're fighting the giants and the gods actually come down to help, which, can you believe it? God's actually helping. But like Annabeth fighting alongside Athena, Frank fighting alongside Ares, Jason with Zeus, like all of that was just so cool to read. And granted, I don't want to give the gods too much credit because half the time they are useless, but I really enjoyed that scene of them all coming together. And then the Camp Half-Blood fight, oh god, it was just so good. Continually, the person that like impresses me the most, I think, is actually Piper, because from the beginning she's put down as so unimportant because she's a daughter of Aphrodite. But the more I was rereading these, I was like, if I was going to choose a godly parent, I kind of would want it to be Aphrodite, because she leads with, it's not just about the brawn, but it's also not about wit. It's about like truth and leading with how you really feel and everything, and it's just amazing. Is Aphrodite a mess? She's messy, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I just really liked Piper's interpretation of being a daughter of Aphrodite, so I really liked that, and she has some incredible moments in the end. And then Leo, I had a bad feeling about Leo going into this book. I was like, I feel like something happens and I don't remember what, and I didn't remember how he gets back to Ogygia, and I was like, I don't know where this goes, and I was surprised, but it was a really good scene. What I am so surprised about is that I read this book when it came out in 2016. Oh, knocked over some books. I read this book in like 2016 or whatever it was that it came out. And I haven't reread it since. What's crazy to me is that I have gone all these years and I've reread, or I've read on into the series because I've read a couple of the Apollo books we'll talk about in a second. But like I haven't read the new Percy books and whatever. And it's making me realize, so Leo and Calypso are left so open, like that is not answered in a lot of ways, and I cannot believe that I've just lived my life. I don't know what happens to them, and I don't know where that's even answered, so I'm very interested to see where that comes up. Like, I feel like they have enough to be their own series, but like I know that they're not, at least not yet, so but Rick, it should be a series. Anyway, what I think I'm going to do next is I think I'm actually going to read the Magnus Chase trilogy, because I'm not ready to read the Apollo books. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think I've said it already, but the reason I haven't read Rick Riordan in so long is because of the Apollo books. I got to book 3 or 4, I don't remember which one it is, And something so horribly, horribly devastating happens in that book that I have not returned to any Rick Riordan books since. So I'm going to give myself a little more time. I'm going to read the Magnus Chase books, which are books I also really love, and I never read the third one. So I'm going to listen to those, and then I guess I'll go to the Apollo books. But at least after the Apollo books, I have New Percy, and I have, I think almost low-key more importantly, Nico and Will's books. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But I'm loving just listening to only Rick Riordan books. Like, that's my goal. I don't think they'll last me the whole year necessarily. I don't think there's that many, but I'm gonna keep reading those. I'm still reading the historical romance ebook, so I'll update you on that later. But yeah, loved Blood of Olympus, 5 out of 5. I just want to stay in the magical Rick Riordan world, always. Hello, I did not update before my shifts this week. I ended up calling out of one, and then still worked my other 2 shifts. Feeling a lot better, but I did finish the historical romance book, and I really liked it. It was very sweet. I liked the introduction of these characters, and I think I'm going to maybe like the other books more. This hero just did not quite yearn enough, and was like very, a lot of the times what I love in historical romance is when we take expected, you know, tropes or expected behavior and like kind of turn it on its head. Like, I don't necessarily want to read about what a man in the 1800s really would be like, you know. You can switch it up, give it some modern value, and he was not by any means like a horrible character. He just was like not, he was just a little too brutish, like a little too like male-centered mind, kind of like patriarchal, you know, kind of vibes. He was not bad, he just was not my favorite of all time. And like, I just didn't fully feel how much he loved the character, the female main character, but I still liked it, and I really think I'm going to like his sister's books more. So looking forward to reading those. I've rented the second one, but I haven't started it yet. I am currently reading, what's it called? Let's find out. I don't remember. It's a hockey romance. I wanted to switch up and read a contemporary. I'm like 60% in Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. I'm not going to say too much yet. I want to finish it and then I'll tell you my full thoughts. I like it. I definitely don't love it. And you know what? My critique is the exact same as the historical romance. The male main character, I just feel, is a little much, like a little too possessive for me. So, but we'll see where it goes from here. My other issue is the nicknames in the book. They annoy me. But other than that, I thought I was just putting these away. I have these Taylor Swift themed like tarot cards, so I thought I'd do a pull for you real quick and then go finish my book. But I just wanted to show you because they're so pretty. I got these for Christmas. So let's just, sometimes I've done it before where I'll just pull a tarot card for the video. We got Page of Cups, which is a picture of her guitar. I don't know what Page of Cups means. Its area is emotions, and Page of Cups is towards the end of the little chapter. This is their little guidebook thing. It's just kind of, it's a tiny little book. It's hard to... Page of Cups. Okay, Taylor Moment is writing her first song. What this card means: creativity, following your heart, new emotional breakthroughs. Reading the tarot card, the Page of Cups is a cheerful and innocent figure. They are holding a cup that randomly has a fish in it. This represents new ideas popping into your head out of nowhere. This watery card is all about letting emotions flow. And it's February, so it's Pisces month right now, which is a water sign, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. It is an encouragement to keep an open mind, never shut down your dreams or anyone else's. And then reading Taylor's symbols. Taylor wrote her first song as a teenager sitting on the floor of her childhood bedroom. She wrote poetry and stories and eventually became songs. Those songs grew from scrawled lyrics in her journal to record masterpieces that move millions of people. So anyway, that's our card of the day. And I am going to go try and finish Behind the Net, and I'll let you know what my final thoughts are and what I feel like reading next. I don't know if I'm going to go to the historical romance, or there's another contemporary that I just downloaded my Kindle. I might read that first, we'll see, but I'm going to go try and finish that one and I'll let you know. Hello, a reading update. So I did finish Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer, and pretty much what I said before, I stand by, even after finishing it. I liked it. I did not love it though. I really liked the characters, but I did not care for the songwriting plot. Like, I just wasn't really interested in that. The female character, Pippa, like, wanted to pursue songwriting, performing, that kind of thing, and I just didn't care. I don't know why. I just couldn't bring myself to care about that portion of the story. And like, to the point where like sometimes I was like, I don't want to say cringing, but just like really like not wanting to read it. But at the same time, I liked the chemistry of the characters a lot. I did not like, I usually don't mind nicknames in a romance book. Most of the time I really like it. In this one, it was a no for me. His nickname for her was Songbird, and then I don't know if you'd call this a nickname, but she said like bossy a lot, and he also was like, oh, my pretty assistant. Like, that was what he called her in his head. Also, they never came to an agreement on when she was gonna, like, they start dating essentially, or they get together, but never is there a conversation like, hey, I should stop working for you. Anyway, it was fine. It was fine. It was nothing horribly offensive, but like, wasn't my favorite. I'm still interested in trying some other books by the author. And then I started a book, and I sat down and I read the entire thing. It's All in Your Head by Sabina Nord Nordvist. I'm sorry, I don't know. I have to look up that name. Will you focus? There we go. And I mean, obviously I read it all in one go, so it was really, really, really good. God, I think I'm gonna have to like kind of sit with it for a while and really process it emotionally. It made me cry, but not just for the characters, but for like how it was making me feel, and like the things that they were saying are things I've never gotten to read in a book before, and I really liked it. So this is a contemporary romance with two characters with chronic pain or chronic conditions of some sort. And even though I still will continue to be searching for a romance book that has something closer to what I experience, it just to have something was really incredible to read. So she has idiopathic intracranial hypertension, which is something that I have had patients with quite often. Not often, but like I've encountered it. But I still learned about it a lot more. About like the more like ins and outs. I was just looking up the meds that are used to treat it, and some of them I'm familiar with, but the main one I'm not as familiar with, and it's not like a medication that I've given. But some of I really liked the conversations that it brought up in her experience with going to the doctor and how they didn't listen to her, that kind of thing. Definitely understand that. I've experienced that patient and being on the other side of things as like the nurse kind of going in between and hearing patient stories and everything. Something I learned is that she has a couple of LPs, which are lumbar punctures, and she describes them as so painful. I've never had one, obviously. But as a nurse, I've never had a patient tell me that they're painful, at least not in my memory. Maybe just the patients that I've had that get those done, they haven't experienced pain or they haven't mentioned it. I don't know. So that was a bit of an interesting piece. Whenever I read a book that has a little bit more medical stuff, I'm always like, I think a lot about that, and I look at it in kind of a different lens than some other readers might. Like towards the beginning, she kept just saying she was taking her medications, and she only ever names one medication, and I wish she said what else she was on, because I was looking at meds, like what are the, the kind of the go-to meds to treat this, and then she has a lot of conversation about like the procedures that can treat this. Almost every patient I've ever cared for in my memory that has had this has a shunt, which is something that takes that extra fluid in your brain and shunts it into your abdominal cavity. But she doesn't want to do that because they have to be fixed so much, which I have experienced that with patients, that they've had it like redone, or it gets infected or that kind of thing. So that was an interesting conversation of her really trying to hold off on that. And the shunt procedure, or the stent procedure she mentioned, I have never heard of, but it makes sense. And then so the male main character, he has a chronic illness from a injury. So he is a professional Olympic snowboarder, because he does the flippy trick things. And he fell and like broke all of the bones in the lower half of his body. I probably, like, my experience probably relates more with how he feels, even though I've never had like a major injury, but I really liked being inside his point of view and hearing his descriptions and like reading that in a book. I've never really gotten to do that before. So I really enjoy that. He only mentions one of the meds that he's on. He mentions he takes oxycodone for pain. I do wish he had kind of explored that a little bit more, like what that means for it. He talks about like the social implications and like not being able to drink, and like how sometimes it can be hard to get a prescription. But I wish he had talked a little bit more about like the side effects, how it makes him feel, that kind of thing. And I wish he talked about what other meds he's on, because he's not just on oxy. He's had a major reconstructive bone surgeries. He's got to be on other things. And I'm nosy. I'm a nurse. I'm nosy. I want to know what meds they're on. I want their med lists. I want their medical records. I'm curious. But anyway, the chronic pain and everything, all of that, the chronic illness discussions in this book alone are enough for me to give this a 5 stars. But then on top of that, I really liked the romance as well. I liked the friends, or like the fake dating to friends to lovers. It fit perfectly. The grand gesture in the end was so silly, but just silly enough to be so endearing that I just loved it. I loved her growing emotionally and kind of removing some of the walls. I loved her making friends. I loved everything. It was fantastic. At first I was like, the first plan, the reason they had to fake date, I was like, this doesn't really make any sense. But past that, I like don't even care, because the rest of it was so good. And I think this might be this is a debut. So Sabina, girl, when you write more books, hit me up. This book came out 4 days ago, and I just read it in I don't know how many hours, 5 hours. I like sat down and just like didn't stop. It was fantastic. And I think that's a perfect place to end this reading vlog. So I hope you enjoyed. Come back. If you have any like chronic illness romance book recommendations, let me know. The only other one I've ever read is, I have it over here somewhere, I don't know where it is the Chloe Brown book, which I need to reread to see maybe if I connect with that more now, years later. And then I've read Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey, but that's a type 1 diabetic representation, so it's a chronic illness, but it's not chronic pain. So I'm gonna keep searching. I will keep searching, but I loved this one, and I'm so glad I picked it up. So perfect place to end the vlog. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.